Hi, everybody. So I want to start with a quote by Mark Twain, and I'm going to really try hard not to screw it up. This is the only thing I've actually have planned for this entire talk. So my dad actually sent me this quote about 2 weeks into my Go-To Kitchens blog adventure, and it's this: the 2 most important days in someone's life is the day that they're born and the day that they find out why. That's a tough one for me because I really felt like my entire life that there was something that I was missing, that there was something that I needed to grab a hold of, pardon me for my emotions, that I needed to grab a hold of, and I just kept pulling at things. Oh, I'm a marketing professional. Oh, I'm a great wife. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. But it was never in my soul. And my husband and I, who's here with me today, we actually had a perfect life. We were living a dream. We were more in love than ever. We were traveling the world. We had tons of friends. Our business had made it through a recession. A very tiny mom and pop business had made it through a recession. And one Sunday morning, I woke up and I found a lump in my breast. And I looked at him and I said, this is going to change everything. And I tell you, I will stop crying at some point, but I can't ever tell this story without tears in my eyes. And I said, this is going to change everything. Our whole lives are going to change if this is what we think it is. And he said, oh, he was great. He was like, it's totally not cancer. It's not cancer. It's not going to be cancer. And I was like, I don't know. So when you find a lump in your breast, you get upgraded to all kinds of doctors. You go to the hospital, you see a doctor, and they're like, oh, now you need to go see this doctor, and now you got to go see this doctor. And you get upgraded, and it feels so scary, and it's so intimidating. So about 4 days after finding out that it was cancer, my mind just reeled, and I couldn't decide what I wanted to do because of the type of cancer that they had diagnosed it as was a pretty nasty little thing. Now, I have to tell you, it was only the size of the end of my pinky finger. It was tiny. It was 1 centimeter. And this is not a cancer story. We're going to get beyond this. And by the way, these are my boobs, and it was right over here, just so you know. I just want you to know because everybody looks at your boobs. When you say you had breast cancer, everybody looks at your boobs. You're like, no, these are mine, I swear. So you get upgraded with all of these doctors, and I took 2 months to try to figure out what I wanted to do. They wanted me to do chemo. They wanted me to do radiation. They wanted me to do everything. They wanted me to do 5 years of one drug and 10 years of another drug. And I'm like, you guys know that it's this big, right? And they said, oh yeah, but it could do this and it could do that. So I had this blanket of fear that laid over me that was just undeniable. And I've always been an incredibly positive person. In fact, I always call my mom and dad my always light, never darkness mentors, because they actually taught me to live in the light and never seek the darkness. And so I have a mantra. Before I even go on stage, before I do anything, I say, please let me be light into dark spaces and never darkness into light spaces. And so I've always been incredibly positive, but it took me down. It took me down to the ground, and I thought that it was my last Christmas. I thought that was it. This is it. Grim Reaper knocking on the door, and a year from now I'm going to be dead. Because they were telling me within a year to 2 years, if you don't do all this stuff we want you to do, you're going to have more cancer. And they wanted to remove my breasts. They wanted to do all kinds of stuff. So I took 2 months to try to figure out, what do I do? What do you do? What do you do when somebody says the C word to you? I mean, what happens? It's scary. It's so scary. And so sitting on the beach, we actually went on vacation. That's what Leslie does. She goes on vacation. You get diagnosed with cancer. I mean, obviously, the next thing you do is go on vacation. So we went on vacation. I was sitting on a beach on the north shore of Oahu watching these 30-foot waves crash in right in front of me. And I could just feel the power. And that power that those waves had gave me an intense power to fight this with everything I had. Now, you're fighting it with everything that you have might be, saying, okay, I'll do the chemo, I'll have the breast removed, I'll do everything that you want me to do. My power was to just say no to drugs. So I said no to drugs. I went back to my doctor and I said, this is what I'm going to do. And she said, really? Yes, this is what I'm going to do. She said, all right, you can do that, but you have to have a plan, Leslie. You have to have a plan. You have to start treating your body differently. And I thought, okay, well, what does that mean? So my medical doctor actually suggested that I hire a naturopath, because if you're not going to do the chemo, if you're not going to have the surgery, if you're not going to do all of that, then you need to do something else. So I hired a naturopath. He helped me understand real food principles. He helped me understand how to treat my body. I always thought I'd been healthy because I was thin. So thin to me equated health. If I'm thin, then I must be healthy. But what I didn't understand is that maintaining that weight had nothing to do with my health at all. It had nothing, because my body produced cancer. So after about a year into my journey, my whole food, real food journey, and that's what he suggested that I do, is to eat whole real foods. I was eating well, very well. In fact, driving my family crazy eating well, like total food, I don't even know what to call it. I was like we're doing this. If we're doing it, you're doing it with me. And my husband's like, really? So I was eating very, very, very well for a year. I went back to the doctor to have my breast checked again. And by the way, just so you know, for reference, I did have the lump removed and I did 6 weeks of radiation. So just in case you wanted to know that. So I went back to my doctor to have my scans, my medical doctor done, to have them looked at again. And so he looks at them, and he's kind of like, he scared me actually. He's looking at last year's image where the cancer was. He's looking at this year's image, and he says, this is remarkable. And I said, what's remarkable? He said, your breast tissue is healthier now than it was a year ago. What are you doing? And so I told him what I was doing. This lit a fire in me. As soon as he said that to me, a fire lit in my belly. And I thought, I can teach people to do this. I can teach people to live differently, to live in a healthy space without being a stress cadet about food, without having to go, oh, I can't eat that because that's not organic. Or, oh, that's not real food, I'm not eating that. I can teach people how to do this. And so I had proof. I had proof in scans. I had medical proof that I was doing better. And honestly, I looked younger. I was healthier. I had more energy than I'd ever had in my entire life. This was 3 years ago. At about year 2, I started brainstorming. What do you do with this information? How do you spread the word? I don't know anything about making a website. I don't know anything about social media. All I know is that, some selfies on vacation, whatever. I don't know how to do this. So I started educating myself in a different way. How do I get my message out? And I came up with, I probably bought 100 domain names in like that course of a year. Oh, I think I'm going to do it this way. And I had all of these ideas, and my friends and my family were going nuts because I was trying to figure out how to give my cancer journey meaning. How do you give a cancer journey meaning? And so I finally landed upon at dinner one night with some friends. I have a Sunday night dinner that I host with friends quite frequently, and I cook for them, actually less frequently now because I'm so busy. Sorry, guys. But I actually host this dinner with them, and so one of my very dear friends says to me, you should make a video so I can see how you make this stuff. Well, that's kind of genius. I can totally do that. So I made one video, and it started off, and I was wearing a GoPro on my head. No joke. This is no joke. Wearing a GoPro on my head, so all you could see was my hands. And so I made a video for her, looking down at my counter, making the food, and I was narrating it, and she was like, you're kind of a natural at this. And I was watching the video, and not to toot my own horn, but I was thinking, I'm kind of a natural at this. So one thing led to another, and we decided that it would be awesome if I could go to people's kitchens and cook with them. If I could get into their space and teach them the things that I know in their space, so that you don't have to try to figure out what tools I'm using to do these things. And so that was the first evolution of my business, and GoToKitchens.com, which is my business. And so then along came live broadcasting. OMG. Live broadcasting changed everything. Everything. It was just remarkable. One day I turn on my phone and I have it sitting at my desk, and I have to tell you, for like 5 seconds I just kind of stared at it because I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, is that on? Is that working? I wish I had that first broadcast. I'm like, is that working right? And so I turn on my phone and I look at it and I'm like, oh, hi. And I see comments start coming up because I broadcast on Periscope. I see comments and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I had an avocado in my hand, nothing planned. All I was going to do is talk about an avocado for the next 15 minutes. You know, what about an avocado? It was awesome. I was hooked. People were interacting. People were talking. People were laughing. They were commenting. They were hearting up the screen because on Periscope you type the little screen and it sends up these hearts. And I was hooked. And so I did not falter from that point on. From that very point until now, for the last year, I've been broadcasting every single weekday at noon Mountain Time. That was a little plug, by the way, so you can find me on Periscope. Every single day at noon Mountain Time, I have been doing these live broadcasts. And some of you here today, I'm pointing at you, are here because that's how we met. That's how we became a community. And now my community has gone from several hundred people to several thousand people and growing leaps and bounds. But the one difference there that I think that some recognize in me over others is that I have a passion. I was born to do this. I found out what I was here to do. And that was to help people change their lives through their kitchen. It wasn't to help them change their lives because I'm going to needle you all the time about don't eat this and don't eat that. I actually don't talk about things that you don't eat at all. I only talk about things that you can eat. I teach people how to be in their kitchen space. And so from that journey, Go To Kitchens is only a year old. From that journey until now, last weekend I was in Dallas filming a marketing blog or marketing promo. That's about all I'm allowed to say. I can say this for a major network who is courting me for a show, for my very own cooking show, because they recognize, I was discovered on Periscope, because they recognize something, and the thing that they recognize is the passion behind what I do, the passion for my subject, for helping people change their lives. I want people to have light bulb moments. In fact, I actually had a moment at Summit this year. I was in an elevator. Kim Garst, if you know who she is, gets on my elevator. And I never said this out loud before in my entire life. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Kim Garst, it's Kim Garst, it's Kim Garst, you know. And it's just she and I was like, hey, Kim, I'm Leslie. You know, because I get really intimidated easily like that. And I was like, hey, Kim, I'm Leslie. And she says, I was telling her I loved her keynote. And she's like, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a light bulb expert. She looked at me and she was like, what do you mean you're a light bulb expert? Do you mean you sell light bulbs? And I said, no, I'm a light bulb expert. I help people have light bulb moments in their health before a crisis strikes. And she was like, that's genius. Do you say that all the time? She didn't even care about what I did at that point. And so it was a moment in time for me that I actually started branding myself as the light bulb expert. And I have a hashtag. I mean, I use hashtag lightbulb all the time. So from starting from nothing, not having any idea how to even build a website, knowing nothing about social media, a year later, being a force on Periscope, being one of the #1 cooking shows on Periscope with a very consistent audience, a very loving, caring audience that comes out of their way to meet me here in New York City. So they're waving in the back. So coming that far in such a short amount of time has been a remarkable journey, but I only give it up to one thing, and that is the fire in the belly, is the passion that I have for helping people. It's not about the money for me. One day, the money will come. Money's not there yet. One day, the money will come. It's little bits like this. But that's not even it. It's helping people change lives. It's helping them help somebody else change lives. My business has spurred other businesses to come off of that. And people get healthy and they're like, oh, I want to share my message. So it's just building. It's just building. And so as one tells the next, we begin to change lives. And I tell my audience all the time, you guys are helping me help millions of people get healthy. So that's my story. That's Go To Kitchens. At Go To Kitchens on every piece of social media that you can ever find, ever. And if it's not there, tell me and I will be there. So, so please connect with me there. I do the show every weekday at noon Mountain Time. And while you guys are getting lunch, I'm actually going to do a food demo for our live audience over here. So you guys enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Ryan, for letting me be a part of this. And enjoy your lunch today.